So we'll do this via the screen over here and kind of walk you through a high-level view of input. By way of background, throughout my career, I've done this every 2 years in every community that I've worked in. Really, so that I can see consistency between communities, but also in communities that hadn't implemented this, we'll have an opportunity to get feedback, both as the residents in whole, as well as the committees, commissions, and boards structure, to really get a sense of what do residents think, what do voters think about what's going on in the community. So pretty good standardized set of questions. First thing to answer is, well, who took the response, or who took the survey, and what did those folks consist of? So 3,800 ballpark total registered voters in the village. Trustee Ewart did make a motion. We do this to send it out to all registered voters. So we did. So some households are going to be overrepresented here if we look at it at a household standpoint. 98% of the respondents of the 366 that did respond, so just a little shy of a 10% response rate, which is really good for a survey. Own their homes, 2% rent. 56% of the responses are residents that have been here 15 years or more. So these are long-term stakeholders in the community. They care a lot about what's going on by virtue of that stakeholdership. 27% of them have been here between 5 and 15 years, and 17% have been here between 0 and 5 years. So we're really, in general, talking about long-term residents that have seen years of change in the community and have a good sense of where things are. So we ask a series of questions. The first one is, first, think about the Village of Waterford government and rate it on the following attributes using a scale from 1 to 5, where 1 means poor and 5 means excellent. So some of these, I think we probably all instinctively have some sense of where things are. Other ones are the ones that I'm just going to call out as That's really what these are. They need to provoke thought at our committee, commission, and board level, and we need to ask more questions so that we can do better as an organization. So directly behind the village board, it's the mission of the village board of trustees to deliver open and accessible governance to the village of Waterford. And if I look at where we have some areas for opportunity of improvement, it says is open to citizen ideas and involvement. So if I look at kind of where this is, the ones that I'm looking at are the ones that are these bottom two categories: poor and somewhat poor. Show above, close to 100 responses, a third of the responses. So this is, somewhere right around 90 of those. So hey, it's open to citizen ideas and involvement. That's something that we can do better on. Has trustworthy leaders, right at 100 responses, roughly a third of the folks out there. Good news is you're all doing better than Congress and the president right now in terms of how people view you and your trustworthiness, and you're doing a lot better than every major news agency out there. It doesn't mean you get to rest upon your laurels, because we've got some work to do with this. Question number 2, rate the economic health of the Village of Waterford on the following aspects using a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 means poor and 5 means excellent. Same basic thing. I would suspect that a lot of the national economic picture is playing a role here. In particular, this is the first time you're going to see our residents talk about taxes and tax rates. The village makes up just a little shy of 23% of the overall tax picture for our residents. And when they come in to see us and they talk about their taxes being too high, you guys don't control the majority of that pie in terms of what they're paying. Your school districts do, your community college does, and your county does. So your residents are very much concerned about taxes. Everything else is what I would put it as sort of an acceptable place. Cost of living, affordability of housing, business mix. We ask them questions about service priority. Hey, can you tell us, what would your service priority be? And please rank them, 1 being low priority, 5 being a high priority. And what our residents say on that one is, EMS, fire, and police are all very high priorities. Utilities is a really high priority. And the library actually is a pretty high priority for people. So they're just things that we should take into consideration when making funding decisions about items. Question number 4. On a scale where 1 is strongly disagree and 5 is strongly agree, to what degree do you agree or disagree that Waterford is? And so we ask them, is it a safe place to live? It's a perfect place for me. The one that I would really call out is a great place to own a business. We heard back in 2018 from our residents that they'd really like to see a more broad business mix within the community. I think this is another one of those kind of a questions. Along with, it's an enjoyable place for young adults. We probably have some more work to do there. both within our business organization, businesses as individual property taxpayers in the village, as well as our DPW committee, to talk about how we can make quality of life better for our young residents. Number 5, compared to 5 years ago, would you say the following have gotten worse, stayed the same, or gotten better? Looking at responses to that question, mostly things have stayed the same. The business friendliness of government is one that I would say, hey, we need to have a conversation. We got gotten worse, really low response rates there, particularly for quality of life on your street. People feel like, oh, it's really the same, or hey, it's gotten pretty significantly better. That's where the majority of those answers lie. Public image of the village, kind of a spread, overall positive. Business friendliness of government, we need to work on. We ask budgeting strategy questions. There are 5 strategies that we put forward to our residents. We say, hey, tell us which one of the following strategies do you think we should use when looking at different services that we offer. So we ask them, should we reduce the service level? Should we raise taxes? Should we raise user fees? Should we combine with another community, or should we privatize or contract this service out? And the responses to this are, somewhat interesting to me, which is for the library, it's kind of a spread across the board, which is combine with another community, raise user fees, does get the most votes there, but by a really slim margin. And then 83 of the 366 survey respondents said reduce the survey level, which was a big surprise, because earlier they said, hey, this is a priority for us. And now they're saying, but don't do as much as you were doing. So a little bit of conflict, we would need to delve into that one a little more deeply. Road maintenance, they're asking us to privatize or contract it. Largely a high level of acceptance for raised taxes there with 104 responses. EMS, fire, and police, all of them overwhelmingly say combine it with another community, right? Which we already do with police, and we have some shared services with fire and EMS response. But that was the biggest response there. For parks, it was reduced service level. For economic development, it was privatize or contract. And for water and sewer, it was, hey, raise the user rates. We do ask questions about new projects, so road maintenance, lower taxes, a new fire truck, replace the library roof, replace the library HVAC, expand our EMS staffing, or get a new ambulance. The pyramid is not representative of the numbers that are submitted. We're just trying to graphically illustrate what the priority was and what the priority wasn't. Maybe in a subsequent period we'll come up with a better way to do that. Number 1 on the list was lower taxes with 169 responses to do so, followed up really close with road maintenance for 148. Everything else was low double digits. The third highest up was expand EMS staffing with 78 most important responses. There's a pretty big gap there. We ask question 8, please rank the top 5 priorities of what is most important to your household out of the options below, with 1 being the most important. So do you want lower taxes, expanded road repair, expanded EMS coverage, increased library funding, repair aging infrastructure, expanded police coverage, expanded fire coverage, expanded parking downtown, workforce housing, or festivals and events? And so looking at most important, 35% of respondents said lower the taxes, 25% said expand road repair. The next highest up was 11% expand EMS coverage, and everything else was single digit. Festivals and events got a 0. So people feel pretty good about the festival and event investment that we make here. Don't know that we need to do any expansion. That is backed up with room tax dollars. I don't know if the general public knows that one, but we levy taxes on all the transient room rentals here, and that's the money that goes into that. We then asked some very preliminary referenda type questions, and I'll read those out because I think these will significantly or should significantly guide public policy going forward. So question number 9, we presently staff our emergency medical services station with 4 staff Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. This was written back in March. 2 staff on nights and weekends. This level of staffing means we ask our neighbors for assistance on roughly 40 to 60 EMS calls per year. Would you be in favor of a referendum asking to raise taxes $350,000 to provide additional EMS staffing in our station in order to obtain 4 staff in station at all times? And 192 respondents said no, 158 said yes. I would tell you that if you took this question to referendum, it would not be a successful referendum based on the survey that we have. The next question up, number 10, parts of Jefferson Street were last resurfaced in 1966. Most of Jefferson Street is rated as failed or very poor. Would you support the board asking a referendum question of the voters during an upcoming election to raise taxes in order to reconstruct Jefferson. And on that one, it was 198 votes yes, 151 no. So people really hate the state that Jefferson is in. I can tell you when Don and I go out to condo association meetings or HOA meetings, probably question number one is around overall tax rates, and question number two is when you're going to fix Jefferson. So it's top of mind awareness for people on a project they want to see us get done. Even from today, if the board said, yeah, we really want to figure out where to go with this, it would be at least 3 years from us. We are just now doing soil borings on that road. Last year we did some televising to determine the quality of the sanitary sewer lines that are there. We would need to go through full engineering to really obtain engineers' opinion of probable cost to be able to formulate a referendum question and adjust tax rates appropriately. Over that same time period, we do have a good bit of debt that is going to roll off of our books, and that might give you an opportunity to not take it to referendum but still get that work done. The last question was on the question of the library, and it was our library is presently funded $625,425 for 2024. Would you support a referendum to increase library funding with a property tax increase of approximately $75,000? 212 residents said no, 143 said yes. So you certainly have some really passionate library supporters out there. The broad sentiment was no. Any questions for me? Yes, sir.
Do you think this is a good response rate as far as?
It's a phenomenal response rate. If you get back 3%, that would be a good response rate. You got back almost 10.
I know we tried our best to advertise it and.
Yeah, you got a great response. I think you've got really valid data there, and now it's a matter of taking this. Again, we look at it every 2 years and really asking better questions than what we asked on the initial survey.
I'll just ask the trustees, I'm gonna start going to business after 5. If anybody'd like to go with me, contact me, so we can get a little bit more contact with the businesses and understand what they, why we got a little response on that. I don't know if it's too many processes or what, but that I would like to know, because we've been working very hard as a board to be pro-business. Any other questions for Zeke? All right. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Discussion on resolution